Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at pages 28 and 29 in your lesson book. As you can see, we're looking at the key of B flat major. Last lesson we started looking at keys with flats, with the key of F major that just had a B flat. Today we have two flats, which are B flat and E flat. So one of the big things to keep in mind is that if your instrument has an E string, you cannot play open E in this key. Let's start with 139 with the finger patterns in first position. Right off the bat, we have something kind of strange happening with 139 because normally this is for violins and basses, normally your first finger on the E string is an F sharp. We want an F natural, so we're going to do this in half position. Instead of being here, you're going to back your first finger up to here, and then you might notice normally these start with your open string. They just skip that completely because you can't play open E, and they don't have you play an E flat. So we're going to start with our first finger and then do the 3-4 pattern. So space, space, close. So here we go with the E string for 139. Going over to the A string, this is a similar thing. So we play open A, and then the next note is a B flat. So instead of having your first finger here, you're going to back it up, be in half position, and then again it's a 3-4 pattern. So space, space, close. And that close 4 is going to get you the E flat that we need. So here we go with the A string. Similar idea with the D string. Again, we're going to have a low 1 because the note is E flat. So instead of here, you're going to back your first finger up to an E flat. But this time it's an open pattern, so it's all whole steps. The reason being that before the fourth finger was in the position for E flat, this time we want an A natural, so we have to stretch a little bit further. There's a lot of stretching in this one. So here we go. Good. And then on G, this is the first time so far today that we've put our first finger in its normal spot, in its regular position. So first finger goes back to where it would normally go for an A natural. Next week when we have A flats, it will be low, but this time it's over in its regular spot, and we have a 1-2 pattern. Okay, here we go. Good. And finally, cellos and bases on your C string. There is an E flat in there, so watch out. It's a 1-2 pattern if you're a viola. Okay, so this is what it sounds like. All right, so some things to think about there. When we get to the pieces, you'll have to really adjust with that low 1. There's a low 1 on half or more of your strings, depending on what instrument you play. Okay, moving on to third position finger patterns. Like last week, I think this is actually the easier one than the first position. So if you could handle the first position stuff, this should be a piece of cake. So starting in third position on the E string with a 1-2 pattern. Here we go. Same thing on the A string, 1-2 pattern. A 2-3 pattern on the D string. Same thing, 2-3 on G. Lastly, a 3-4 pattern on C. Sounds like this. I'm playing it, of course, an octave higher. So those are all of your finger patterns. We're going to move to 141, the B flat major scale. Of all the instruments, this is probably easiest for violins. You get to stay in first position the entire time because you have an E string to get you up to that higher B. Violas and cellos have it a little bit harder, and so violins right now, what you can do is go through and mark that every first finger you play in this exercise is a low one. Okay, we start on our low 2 B flat on the G string, and as we go up, every single first finger is going to be low. Okay, you might also mark that the E is not an open E. You have to play a low 4 for that, for an E flat. Other than that, this shouldn't be too difficult. Violas, you're starting in the same spot as the violins, okay, on low 2 on the G string, but at a certain point, first you're going to shift to third position. But when you get here, you don't have anywhere else to go and you still need 4 notes, so you're going to go up to 5th position. Actually, I did that too late. I'm sorry. I just went to 6th position. I just made it a little bit harder. So let me show you again. So you're going to start in first position. Third position here. Now the beginning of the second measure isn't treble clef, but that is a B flat. That's the next highest note in the scale. So don't let that trick you. After 2 fingers in third position, then you're going to go to 5th and do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I know that is a challenge to be up in 5th, and when you're up there, it is a whole half pattern. So hopefully that does make it a little easier. That's a pattern we've done a lot with shifting. And then also, I know there is the visual end of having it in treble clef that makes it a little bit tough, but I know you guys can do it. Cellos, you should be kind of used to this by now. You play most of it in first position, and then once you get to the A string, you just climb up the A string, right? So you go to third position and then very quickly go to 6th position, okay, ending on that high B flat. So we will play through this. Everything is a quarter note to make it easier, and really listen and make sure that you are catching all of the B flats and E flats. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. So really important that we can play that scale. That is, you run into the key of B flat major actually quite a bit in pieces, so it's important that you know how to play within that key. Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little bit to 144 and 145. These again are both in the key of B flat major, and number 144, you may or may not recognize this melody that has another title that it goes by sometimes, Danny Boy. So you might recognize this, which I always think it's good when you can recognize the melody because then you know if you're playing it incorrectly. If it's a melody you aren't familiar with, it might be a little easier to play something wrong and not notice it. As you can see, violins, actually everybody, you start in first position and then you shift about halfway through the first full measure. We don't count those pickups as the first measure. So you're going to go, and we have to keep in mind the low ones. That's one of the hardest things about this. Then you shift to third position. And it's 4th for cellos, but for violins and violas, it's 3rd. And then if you're a violin or a viola, it doesn't tell you you can go back down. Cellos get to go back down, but we have to cross over to our D string and play this still in third position. So it's 4, 3, 1. And then 3, back over to the A string. 1, 2. Now we get to go back to first. Okay, so that's probably the hardest part right there. And cellos, you escape it. You get to go back to first position. But staying up in third position and crossing over to the D string, you have to really know your fingerboard geography and know where your fingers go in third position. Okay, and the second line is very, very similar. The one thing we should look at is the last two measures. Again, for violins and violas, you stay up there the whole time. So you really have to know which finger plays which note and what string you should be on. Cellos, let me see here. You do a little bit of shifting and you're kind of going back and forth on the A string. So let's play the last two measures. So you're up in position if you're a violin or viola. Cellos, you're getting ready to shift. And it's going to sound like this. All right, so don't cheat and stay in first position. Do it in third, the way it's asking you to. The other thing to point out is that right before that, there is an accidental. There's an F sharp in the measure, 3 measures before the end, so make sure you catch that. All right, I'm going to play through this. You can pause and practice through this. It might take a little while to get it perfect, but I'm sure everyone should be able to get this after a little bit of practice. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3. All right, very good. So that's a really fun one. I hope everyone enjoys playing that. We'll finish up here with 145. And let me just take a look. Generally, these chorales are easier than the tunes. Yeah, I think what we'll do is I will just play through this chorale, and then you can work on it. You can play along with me and then work on any little spots that you have. I do have a page turn, so bear with me when we get there. All right, so here we go, 145. 1, 2, 3. Turning my page. We'll keep going here. Third position if you're a violin. Actually, third position for everyone. Here we go. Good. So again, with all of these, if you have questions about what the spacing should be with your fingers, that's why they give you the first two exercises on page 28. You're working through the first first position finger patterns and the third position finger patterns. And unless there's an accidental, that's how it will be for everything in these pieces in the key of B flat. All right. So thanks for watching, and looking forward to see what you do with these.